Hello, ladies, and welcome to a brand new episode of our newly branded podcast and company. Now, today I really want to take you behind the scenes and really share what has been unfolding for quite a while now. So, we are stepping into a new chapter. The Clique is officially She Leads. Now, this shift is more than just a name change, it's really an evolution. And honestly, I feel like it's been long overdue. So I want to share on this episode a bit of an introduction to our new identity. Now, when I first entered the coaching space, it really did feel like this secret club. It was a place for the few who already knew the power of personal development, who had already begun the inner work. And that's what the Clique was built for. And that's why I chose that name. It was for those who were ready to rise and who are willing to do the work. And that mission served us for a season, but I've really come to see the limitations of that name and that energy, because what I really know to be true is that coaching shouldn't feel exclusive. It shouldn't feel like it's reserved for the few who find their way in. It should be accessible to the women who need it the most. So the women who are perhaps navigating self-doubt or burnout or identity shifts or, seasons of reinvention, the women that maybe feel stuck in survival mode and who aren't even sure what support would look like. The women who've never had somebody to hold space for them before in, this really powerful way. And the word clique, it started to feel like I was sending out the wrong signal. So it suggests this inner circle, maybe a closed door. And really, I realized that that's the opposite of what I'm here to build. So with She Leads, then, this is my invitation to open the doors wide open. And really what we're saying is that you don't need to have it all figured out to be here. You don't need to tick every box or prove your worth. You don't need to wait for permission. You belong here as you are, curious, brave, willing to explore something more. And this isn't just about the women we serve, it's also about redefining the coaching industry itself. Changing the name from the Clique is also really an intentional move to help normalize coaching. So the industry has grown exponentially over the past 10 years. It's now a multi-billion-dollar industry with more people than ever investing in coaching and more companies than ever allocating funds to invest in coaching for their employees. But despite the industry's growth, we have only got to look in our own circles, so our friends, our families, to see that coaching really is far from mainstream. We are only just scratching the surface. So for every person who knows the value of coaching, there's also dozens more who've never experienced it, maybe don't even understand what coaching is. They've perhaps never considered it a possibility for themselves. And this is why I believe we need more coaches, not fewer. Because more coaches means more voices sharing the message of coaching, more visibility, more real life examples. And this is how we normalize coaching, not by waiting for the world to catch up, but really by continuing to show up and lead the way. So every new coach that we train now through the She Leads Academy is going to become an advocate. And every session that they take is going to plant that seed. And over time, that ripple effect builds momentum. And, we're going to see this shift where people are saying, oh, what's coaching? To actually asking people, well, who's your coach? So this is really how we move coaching from, the edges really into the center, not as a luxury, but this powerful practical tool for growth, the more and more people are feeling comfortable investing in. Now, why the name She Leads? Well, She Leads, it began as the brand under which I offered my feminine leadership coaching. So this is where I work with women in business or career women, organizations as well, who are committed to developing their female leadership pipeline. Now, I love working in the feminine leadership space. It's an area of coaching which is really creating momentum, especially within the corporate space. Now, I know that not everyone who wants to become a coach will want to become a feminine leadership coach, and that's absolutely fine. Some women might want to be relationship coaches, wellness coaches, mindset coaches, working with mothers or spirituality or business. And I love that diversity, but I do believe that every woman benefits from the principles of feminine leadership, because this work, it's not just about advancing your career. It's really about untangling your worth from productivity. It's about learning to trust your body, to trust your emotions, to trust your intuition. It's really about letting go of that hustle as your default mode, and really remembering that softness and rest and receptivity are not weaknesses. Now, this really matters to me a lot because there was a time when I had to believe I had to perform to be respected, that I had to be, really polished, really productive, endlessly capable. I always had to be switched on. And really, this just left me feeling disconnected from myself, from others, and from the kind of impact that I wanted to have. And it was feminine leadership that changed everything for me. So it really taught me how to lead from wholeness rather than performance. And it really taught me how to soften, but without, losing my edge. And it also gave me that permission to value who I am, not just what I achieve. And so this is why the rebrand is important, because She Leads, is really this declaration of this work. And we no longer want to keep it in a separate lane. We really want to integrate it into our academy so that every coach we train gets to experience, embody these principles for themselves, regardless of the coaching niche they choose. Because whether you're leading in a boardroom or a coaching session or in a classroom or even in your own home, this is the kind of leadership, feminine leadership, that the world needs more of. And it really starts with us. Now, as part of this new chapter, we are also introducing new areas of coaching. So somatic coaching, for example, is becoming really important. A lot of our experience, especially stress, it lives in the body. Now, traditional coaching approaches often stay in the mind, but real transformation we're recognizing happens when we help clients reconnect with their full embodied wisdom. So bringing somatics into things gives people the tools to help their clients regulate their nervous systems and really build that sense of safety from within. And therefore they can then make aligned decisions, not just intellectual ones, but ones that feel right. We're also weaving in trauma-informed foundations. So women can really recognize when trauma is present and respond with sensitivity. And this isn't, by the way, about turning coaches into therapists. It's just about giving coaches the awareness and tools to create spaces that are safe and supportive and empowering. And really the kind of coaching spaces that allow for sustainable breakthroughs, not just surface level results. Now, as part of this shift, we're also continuing to bridge coaching in the corporate space. So build that bridge between coaching and corporate. And this is something that I've spent a lot of time in. And it really is a space that holds huge potential for coaches who are maybe ready to think bigger about how and where they deliver their work. Because the reality is companies are increasingly recognizing that investing in emotional well-being or resilience or leadership, especially with their female talent, it's not just a nice thing to have, it's actually essential to performance retention. It's really important for innovation, for a company's culture. And what companies need are skilled, emotionally intelligent, professionally grounded coaches who can actually deliver that work with confidence. So coaches who actually understand, the inner world of personal transformation, but also the realities of professional environments where they're often very masculine, very kind of this hustle mode. Now, something I will point out is that working in corporate, it doesn't necessarily mean you get hired by a company as an employee, because there's lots of flexible ways to get paid here by companies. So it might be getting employed, but it might be contracting directly with a company as a coach, so more as a freelancer. You could actually be delivering team coaching, group coaching within a company. It could be one-on-one coaching. It could also be actually a personal decision by an individual employee who actually has access to funding for coaching through their company. So they're making the decision to hire you, but their company is paying. And in many cases, again, the employee chooses the coach, but the company pays. So this is a really kind of interesting area of coaching that people often don't know about. Company budgets are actually bigger than you perhaps think, especially mid-sized to larger businesses. They already have budgets allocated for coaching, leadership development, well-being and mental health initiatives, especially women's advancement and the retention of female leaders. And these budgets, these can range from thousands of pounds to hundreds of £1,000s per year. And in many cases, they are often underutilized simply because decision makers don't necessarily know the right people to bring in, or perhaps they're just using the same outdated models that don't really deliver results. And so this is where we want to change things with She Leads, and where our certified coaches can come in, because for those wanting to step into that space, we are not only giving them the coaching skills to support female leaders, but we're also sharing how to work confidently in corporate spaces and pitch their services effectively and really get paid well for the work that we do. Now, again, I'll just be clear here, because I know not every woman will want to work with corporate clients, and that's okay. Some coaches feel called to work more just in personal spaces. Maybe it's supporting women through motherhood or relationships, or health journeys or spiritual growth. Others are drawn to self-worth, healing work, and this has nothing to do with job titles or company culture. But you don't have to be a corporate coach to benefit from what we're doing and what we're building. Because what I will say, even when your coaching niche isn't work related, so it's not feminine leadership, it can still be funded by a client's employer. So many companies, again, will offer these personal development budgets, and they will cover things like well-being or stress management, or things that aren't actually related to somebody's work at all. And again, these budgets often aren't used because people often don't realize that they can actually use that company money to spend on coaching that is outside of their work. We've seen many clients that have had their coaching funded for by their company, and the coaching is related to building self-trust. It's related to navigating things in their personal life, navigating relationships. It might be related to confidence building, not just in the workplace, but in life. It can also be related to just general well-being, stress reduction. So again, companies, they want their people to thrive, not just in the workplace, but they want them to thrive as whole humans. And a growing number of them are willing to back that up with investment. So this rebrand then from the Clique to She Leads, for me, it's really just the beginning. This evolution is really about expanding how we serve, how we support, and how we spotlight women as well. And not just coaches, but leaders, visionaries, change makers, women in every area of life and work. So I want to share actually a little bit about how we're evolving. And one of those ways is really about the free value that I want to continue to deliver as part of our brand. How we support women before they ever invest a penny with us. Because I really believe access to quality, empowering guidance should be accessible to more people. So it's really a mission of ours to continue to create real value for women at every stage of their journey. Maybe they're just discovering coaching. Maybe it's somebody wanting to become a coach. Maybe it's somebody that doesn't want to become a coach, but really wants to work on their mindset, redefine how they succeed. So as part of this, we're going to be creating more free learning content. So things like masterclasses and additional trainings to really introduce women to many of the powerful tools and lessons that we teach inside the academy. What I also want to do more of is spotlight women who are forging their own path. So really shifting away from this typical success story narrative and showcasing, diverse, non-linear journeys of women doing things their way. So this can be things through Spotlight series, where we'll feature either our She Leads graduates, our coaches, or just other women who are really making an impact in the world, even outside of the coaching space. And what I really want to create is real talk, real discussions, not just people sharing the polished wins, but the pivots, the boundaries, the breakdowns, the breakthroughs as well, but the breakdowns as well. And, the decisions that didn't perhaps always make sense on paper, that actually leaded to success. And I really want our community, you guys, to see yourselves in the women we highlight and feel inspired, by these women that we showcase. Now, I also want to start delivering more. We've been working on this for a while, developing programs and support specifically for women who don't want to become coaches, but do want to be coached. So these are professional, successful women that want to access success and leadership coaching. So maybe it's for female founders or creatives or career women. So this could look like one-on-one coaching. It will be through our programs, but we want to continue to build on how we show up and support the women outside of the coaching space. And really, I am very committed to raising the voices of women with something meaningful to say. So launching new content via our platform, so things like this podcast and live interviews where women can really speak to leadership, identity, creativity, motherhood, business, the intersection of all of it. And then, of course, I do also want to give our coaches the stage as well. This is so they're not just learning how to coach, but they are growing into thought leaders and storytellers and facilitators who can also influence change. So really what we're looking to do here is build an ecosystem. So She Leads is really evolving into a place where women can train as a coach, yes, but also grow as a leader. They can collaborate with others. They can connect to corporate spaces and organizational opportunities, also get more visibility, get mentoring, get that support. So whether somebody wants to coach, maybe wants to speak, wants to lead workshops, maybe wants to run retreats, or just create their own body of work, we are really here to support that evolution. So yeah, this is about building that ecosystem where women are really rising together, and they're doing so without sacrificing their integrity, their authenticity, their softness, or their self-trust along the way. So for me, this merge really is a milestone, and it's also the starting point for everything that's coming next. So whether you've been here with us since the beginning, or maybe you're just discovering this space, I want you to know that you belong here, and not when you're more polished, not when you feel more ready. You belong here now. This work is for the woman who knows there's more to say, more to give, more of herself to come home to. So She Leads, for me, it's not just a brand. I really want it to be this movement for every woman, rewriting what success looks like, what leadership looks like. And we're so proud of where we've been, but we're even more excited about where we're going. And I am really honored to be able to walk into this next chapter with you. So with that being said, welcome to She Leads.